What's up guys, Justin here with the CGEssentials.com, back with another Blender new version video for you today. So big news, the newest version of Blender, Blender 2.92, came out yesterday. And so I wanted to walk through some of the new things that are contained inside of this new version. So we'll kind of walk through these. I'll talk about the ones that I like the most, and then you can go download that and check them out for yourself. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. Alright, so first things first, you can download the new version by going to blender.org. And if you look on this front page, you can click on the link right here in order to find that newest release. And so as always, you can download this for free because that is what Blender is all about. So you don't need to pay anything or anything like that. And we'll talk about that more in the future, but please consider supporting Blender so they can keep developing these new versions. But when you click on this, you get taken to this page where it basically shows you all of the new features that are in here. So I thought we'd kind of scroll through, talk about some of them, maybe flip back and forth to Blender. So the biggest new feature in here, at least in my opinion, is easily going to be the geometry nodes. So the geometry nodes, at least the parts that they have complete, are now officially released. And with that, that's going to be a really cool tool that's really going to change the way that we can do like procedural style modeling inside of Blender. So I will link to a video down below where I talk about this more in depth, but basically what this allows us to do is add a geometry nodes modifier and then use the modifier to work with our geometry. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us a lot more control over different aspects of things inside of Blender. So it's really great for like scattering things and applying math. So there are some amazing things being done. If you follow anything having to do with Blender on Twitter, you've probably seen some of the really cool features that are contained inside of geometry nodes. So we're going to talk about a bunch more of those in the future, but for now I would really recommend just downloading this and getting kind of comfortable with the way that the interface works, because once you start thinking about the way that once you start thinking the way that geometry nodes work, you can really create some cool stuff. So more about that in the future, but I am very excited about the geometry nodes in Blender. And so I would say one of the things that really has been getting a lot of attention lately with the new Blender releases is the sculpting tools contained inside of Sculpting. So it seems like every time this comes out, there's just a ton of different tools that are included in this version that allow you to do different things with the sculpting. So if you use the sculpting tool, you've got to be really happy about the different things that are being placed in here. Specifically, they're talking about some new tools they've added, including the silhouette tool, which allows you to grab objects based on one side of the mesh without affecting the other side. There's also an elastic snake tool, which really seems to be great for sketching out high-level shapes, as well as a really fun-looking tool that basically allows you to select things, and it's going to remove those, and then it's going to merge and smooth the faces on the inside. So that's one I really do want to play around with. I don't do a ton of sculpting, but I can definitely appreciate the amount of attention that's being paid to these features. And if you're into sculpting, you've got to be really happy about what they're doing with these right now. So the add primitive tool has been added, and this tool is basically designed to let you add primitive shapes really quickly using just 2 clicks. So if we jump over into Blender, and let's say we wanted to add some primitives in here, you can find that tool over here on the left-hand side, and notice how there's options for things like cubes, cones, cylinders, other things like that. And really all I'm having to do is just click and drag in order to set a base, and then move my mouse in order to move things up and down. And so notice how this shows you inside of Blender what face you're drawing these along. So this allows you to really quickly add those primitive shapes, and what it's being billed as is it's being billed as a tool for quickly like blocking out scenes and other things like that, but it is really great for getting those shapes in here really quickly. So I'm interested to see what people are going to do with this. It's not a super sophisticated tool, but it is an addition to the modeling tool set, which I think is going to be really interesting. All right, so they've also added a new model for fluid simulations. So if you remember, flip fluids has been kind of the It's been the simulation method that's been used in the past for creating these fluid simulations, and the difference is this new version is less splashy in the sense that you don't get as many particles thrown in the air. So you can see how this one on the right hand side just looks a little bit more stable than the one on the left hand side. So if you're doing fluid simulations, this new method could be something that's really going to be helpful for you. I do like the result that's created over here. It does seem like the fluid just isn't going quite as crazy, and I don't know if I would say that it's more realistic as much as I would just say that it's different. And so it's definitely something that you could use and try in order to get different results with your fluid simulations. So the Compositor now has a new node that allows you to adjust exposure inside of the Compositor. So that's going to allow you to really get a little bit more control over the lighting inside of your images. So if you do work with the Compositor, make sure that you check out this node because it's really going to give you a lot more control over the brightness of your images. So they've also added the ability to use hybrid rendering with Optix. So if you go into Blender, under Edit, Preferences, and then you go down to your system, under both CUDA and Optix, there's the option in here to check the box for GeForce or whatever your graphics card is. I believe this is only working with NVIDIA cards and your processor itself as well. So you can now do that hybrid rendering using Optix. So a few other improvements as well. There's been multiple improvements to Grease Pencil, which again is another tool that I don't use a ton, but if you do, these seem really interesting. So specifically, things like being able to edit your strokes like Bezier curves, which gives you control over the way that you can edit these different things inside of Blender, as well as being able to bring in image sequences with the trace image function, a new smooth feature, and a bunch of other features in here as well. So you can see all of these changes by going to this page right here, and you can click on each one of them and it'll take you either to the developer link or to the wiki down below. So there's been a ton of other things that have changed as well. So some different changes for Eevee and cycles, as well as some animation changes, as well as a big list of just UI changes. So really the best way to look at these is just to click on this button right here for the release notes and go to that page. So that page is going to give you information on all of those different things. So for example, if you were to go into cycles, you can see what exactly has changed in all of those different things. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper, make sure that you check out this page. But again, I want to reiterate, if you can, please consider supporting the Blender Development Fund. You can find that link at the bottom of that new features page, and I'll link to it in the notes down below as well. Remember that all of these developers need to get paid for their time, and there's just a ton of people working to make Blender better, and if you want to be a part of that, you can do that by contributing in here. And so you don't need to contribute a lot, but this is something that allows them to continue to make Blender free for everyone. So that's where I'm going to end this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what features in here you're excited about or what features you'd like to see from Blender in the future. I just love having that conversation with you guys. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new Blender content every week. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.